Sly Cooper was a stealth platforming series exclusive to PlayStation consoles. Notice the Wikipedia was because this series is fucking dormant. Believe it or not, long ago in the days of the PS2, Sony was actually putting some real money and effort towards promoting Sly as one of their beloved mascots. But after the PS3 came around, and since Sly Cooper didn't carry a gun, support in the 2010s was looking more like this. By the end of the PS3's lifetime in 2013, it had already been 8 years since Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves released to the previous gen. So it was considered an act of God when the team responsible for porting Sly to the current gen masterminded Sly 4 Thieves in Time to mixed reception. I don't think anybody looked at this dumpy new art style and expected the game to hit right, and clearly some compromises were made. The original voice cast is back, but now they don't shut up. They undressed Inspector Fox, but they made her a 3. Needless to say, Sly 4 was regarded poorly by fans, and the series has been dead ever since. But this video isn't meant to be a history lesson. This video goes out to the people who have played all the games and know the lore, and who have inevitably given attention to the task of ranking the Sly Cooper series. Either you'll end up with a game ranking that looks like this, or like this, and that's what I want to contest. Since these 4 games are going to remain as the entire Sly Cooper legacy, the record must show that Sly 2 is definitely better than Sly 3. Really. And we're gonna disregard any of that nonsense about taste and opinions and get to the facts. And we're gonna get to it fast too, because most Sly Cooper videos are way too long. Now I'll admit, there was a time when I really did prefer Sly 3 over its predecessor, when I was 5, but truly there's nothing wrong with preferring the later entry. All it means is that you like Sly Cooper in a different phase of his story than he was in the second game. I'll explain. Sly 1, 2, and 3 all follow a very reliable storytelling model, so reliable that your teachers love it. Sly 1 is adolescent, exciting, and a little awkward. Sly 2 is tense and climactic, and Sly 3 is very celebratory, kinda last hurrah even. All of the gameplay you'll experience in Sly 2 is designed to make you feel like you're in this vital part of the narrative. You're in this race against time to stop a gang of villains from ruling the world. Almost every job is hastily executed in the cover of darkness. You'll mostly play as Sly, but sometimes you'll get to control Bentley when necessary, and Murray when needed. It's a very tight, vision-full experience from beginning to end. I'll be the first to admit that yeah, the vehicle levels are kind of bullshit, but Bentley's hacking was already a series standard, and what's a Sly Cooper game without a little gun smoke? None of these alternate gameplay styles overstay their welcome though, and gameplay gimmicks like this were just part of the DNA of platformers back then. Generally, Sly 2 feels restrained and refined. Sly 3 is a much different experience. After beginning in Latin, we get this cutscene explaining how Sly kinda just stumbled into the story. Eventually, we're gonna mog this mad scientist, but it's no rush, and we're encouraged to build up our team before the climax. From this opening, it's easy to understand the mood Sly 3's going for. Half the fun will be assembling this big, varied team before the showdown at Dr. M's fortress. If one word can summarize this game in its scope, the word is grand. Everything from the big set pieces to the ensemble cast means that this is gonna be the Sly Cooperiest game yet. Are you starting to understand the problem? Now, historically, I've always been okay with the Sly Cooper games being superfluous. I like how these stupid coin icons change in Sly 2. I like the day and night cycle in Sly 3. I'm alright with these games being silly. The problem is that Sly 3 crosses the line into being too silly. I'm not singling anything out in particular yet, but the bombastic, all-out nature this game attempts tends to get in the way of the fun. You won't notice it much in the early stages, but by the time you've reached Holland, the game's off the fucking rails. Ignoring the few occasions where you do get to sleuth, and the scene where Murray rows, most of Holland's levels will be hacking computers, hacking cameras, hacking booby traps, flying RC planes, flying real planes, twice. It's a campaign to replace the Cooper gang with machines. Also, almost all the bullshit I mentioned is being performed by the three main characters, who are also given other character-specific abilities in this game, though it's easy to forget since they're used so sparingly. Sly Cooper's disguise and Murray's ball form aren't even shoehorned into the final act, I guess, since that's all about playing as the other guys. Shooting shit as Carmelita, playing the Guru, RC driving as Penelope, and doing whatever Dimitri's doing. I'm not sure why, but the Panda King is also not playable for any of this. It kind of undermines the whole point about team effort and all that, but whatever. After finishing the nonsense stages, the final sections of this world have you brawl as Murray, do some gizmo shit as Bentley, and platform as Sly. Couple all that in with the last beats of the storytelling, and what we get is actually a fine ending. Sly 3's conclusion can definitely feel cluttered, but the sensible viewer will know that I've saved the worst for last. The lowest point in this whole game has to be Bloodbath Bay. Fuck this stage. Every bad decision that could have been made, they made in this world. And just ignoring how ugly it is, the gameplay is mind-bending. Once again, all Murray does is row. Diving as Dimitri is stupid, and I really do hate the ships. Yeah, it's a good way to rack up coins, but the combat is so slow. They have a treasure hunt, and it's basically playing a board game. I didn't pop this disc in to play board games. And the entire climax, from the Kraken to the swashbuckling, feels so lame. I'm sorry to say, but this stage is really what makes Sly 3 impossible to rank over its predecessor. It's the only world in the game I actually dread playing, and it's the only world that keeps me from refinishing this game on some attempts. And I know I'm not the only one, because some fan said the same thing to Kevin Miller, the voice of Sly Cooper.
The last time I played Sly 3, I stopped playing before the end because you had to play the Dimitri one where you get his cane. And I was just like, you know, I think here's a good place to stop.
Well, by this point, it should be clear to see why Sly 2 objectively triumphs over its sequel. But if you're still caught up in this opinions and personal experience stuff, allow me to introduce a new tool of critique. Let's just call it Vetti's Razor. We'll use this tool to cut out the weird stuff and turn Sly Cooper's canon into only the best the series can offer. As important as Sly 1 was, it's so experimental and untested that it should probably be cut altogether. And since we hate Sly 4, no one should be sad to see it go.